Well, hello everyone, and I would like to start this video off by saying Beyond Light is without a doubt a failure. And I can 100% wholeheartedly say that, as 2 weeks after launch, we have gotten most of the content that's coming with this expansion, and to put it simply, there is not enough content here for $40. And don't just take my word for it, take it from the people who actually got suckered into buying this expansion. For an expansion that so many of you said would be amazing during my last video, it seems to be far from it. Probably the best comments on my previous video were either one saying Beyond Light is basically Destiny 3, or you can't judge it before it's out, Beyond Light has lots of hidden content. Well, it's 2 weeks past the launch of Beyond Light, and I'm not seeing any of this hidden content, so I guess that means I was right. Consider this video my way of saying I told you so. But unlike my last video, Beyond Light is fully out, meaning we can fully explore the expansion to explain why Beyond Light is truly a failure. First of all, let's set the precedent. Beyond Light is a fall expansion for $40, which means it should compare to Taken King, Rise of Iron, and Forsaken, both in quantity and quality of content. And before I read any comments saying Bungie doesn't have Activision, let me say a few things. If Bungie wants to charge Activision level prices, then we should expect Activision level content. And also, Bungie did all of Destiny 1 and its expansions on their own without help from Activision's own studios. And Rise of Iron was made by a B team, while most of Bungie was focused on Destiny 2. So with that out of the way, let's compare Beyond Light to Forsaken, Taken King, and Warmind. On screen, you will see a table that shows the difference in the amount of content between the different expansions. Green means that there's more content than average, while red means that there's less content than average. As you look over this table, I would like to point out a few things. First of all, look at how Beyond Light does not have more content than other expansions in any categories. Then look at how Warmind, a $20 expansion, beats Beyond Light in 5 categories. That is outrageous that an expansion costing $40 cannot at least equal the amount of content in a $20 expansion. I should note though that some content Beyond Light has is better quality than Warmind's. For instance, its raid is obviously much better than Warmind's raid lair. But aside from the raid, most of the content that we got in Beyond Light is very comparable to Warmind in terms of quality. And the fact that a $20 expansion outdoes a $48 expansion in any categories should be a huge red flag to most of you watching this. I mean, right now, content-wise, Beyond Light is losing out to a $20 expansion. But let's move on to the Taken King, an expansion that is actually within Beyond Light's price range. And well, the Taken King equals or outdoes Beyond Light in every category. Taken King brings both quality and quantity, especially in weapons, strikes, and crucible maps. I mean, Taken King literally almost adds more exotic weapons than all of the weapons in Beyond Light. And keep in mind, Taken King was made only by Bungie without the help of Activision's High Moon Studios and Vicarious Visions. But I know at least one person in the comments will say I can't compare Beyond Light to those expansions for a variety of reasons. So let's talk about Beyond Light on its own. Beyond Light adds 1 strike, a 4-ish hour long campaign, 1 raid, roughly 20 new weapons, 3 new subclasses, and a new location. Let's go over these one at a time. The new strike is really good. I personally enjoy it, and I don't really have much to say besides the fact that it's free, and for paying $40 you really only get the ability to directly select it, as the strike can come up for free in the strike playlist. The new campaign is basically a mediocre Destiny campaign at around 4 hours long. It's better than Shadowkeep's, but worse than Forsaken's. And the story missions are repurposed as Empire hunts in the post-game, even though they're literally just story missions. The raid, on the other hand, is really interesting and fun. Personally, I wish that they went with a different final boss. I mean, this is like the 4th time we've killed Taniks, but aside from that, the overall raid was really good and interesting. I really enjoyed watching the world's first race. And now let's move to the new weapons. 18 new weapons is terrible, whether you're comparing it to new expansions or not. The Beyond Light weapon pool is too small and it really has not had any effect on the meta, as most of the gear we still use is all pre-Beyond Light. And the new location looks cool, but does not really have much to do in it. It's big, but that really just increases the file size more than anything. There isn't really anything to do on this planet, and as big as it is, it's just a waste of space for the most part. This really could have been condensed down to a Mars or Titan-sized planet, and still had all of the gameplay content within it. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, Europa's free to all players, so you don't really, that doesn't really add value to Beyond Light, as it's free anyways, you don't get that with your $40. But anyways, moving on to the best part of this expansion, let's talk about the new subclasses. They are great, and honestly, the only great parts of this expansion. I really enjoy the effect they had on Crucible, as it allowed for some really unique situations. I'm going to go more in depth on this in a separate Crucible video, but just know I'm a really big fan of Stasis, even though I don't even have access to it since I didn't buy Beyond Light. I just really like what Stasis has done for the game, and the Stasis abilities themselves look really fun, and are some of the most unique things Bungie has ever made for this game. But the subclasses alone are not enough to carry a $40 price tag, so while they are cool, they're still heavily overpriced. So, all in all, after going over the content available with this expansion, along with comparing it to past expansions, I think that this should cost $20 to $30 if they include the new season. Yeah, that's basically all my thoughts are, so please like, share, and subscribe. Wait. Stop the exit. You see, I'm not done with this video yet, because I have still not mentioned that Bungie decided in their infinite wisdom that to go along with the smallest Destiny 2 fall expansion ever released, that they would remove 2/3 of the game that people have paid for. Bungie removed 7 strikes, 5 raids, 2 Gambit maps, 11 Crucible maps, many of which were longer ranged and more unique maps, so get ready for even more shotgun spam and for the Crucible to just become more and more monotonous. They also got rid of 7 Crucible modes, so say goodbye to all objective play. They got rid of the Reckoning, Forges, Menagerie, Mars, Titan, Io, and Mercury, and along with hundreds of weapons that are now sunset and unable to be used in in-game activities. Now listen, I know that this is not the most popular content out there, but when so much of what we do in Destiny is replaying old content, losing 2/3 of that content is a big deal, and to say otherwise is just wrong. And I noticed in my last video that some people claimed it was not Beyond Light's job to replace all of this content, and they are right. Beyond Light is an inanimate series of code. Bungie, on the other hand, is 100% responsible for replacing all of the content that we just lost with Beyond Light. And if you say otherwise, I'd like to ask, who do you think is responsible? Or do you think deleting 2/3 of the game all at once is just good game design? So, how would I fix Beyond Light? Well, there are 4 things I would do. First, instead of Empire hunts just being story missions that are replayed, I would make them full-on strikes, similar to what happened with the Fnatic and Forsaken. Second, while developing the world space of Europa, I would design some areas to be PvP maps that double as sections of the map. Bungie has done this in some of their previous games, namely Halo Reach, where almost all of that game's maps were also featured in campaign levels. This allows Bungie to get more usage out of their development time and funding. This goes for Gambit maps as well. When these areas are being used as maps, Bungie could simply add some kill barriers at the exits to keep players contained in the map portion of the area. And third of all, Bungie simply needs to add more pieces of loot. They did a good job adding new and interesting perks, and made some fun pieces of content with Beyond Light. But Bungie dropped the ball hard on giving us a reason to grind for those perks or to play their new content. The only way to fix this is for Bungie to make a bunch more loot. And finally, the 4th thing that I would do to fix Beyond Light is I would not have vaulted any content. I'm sorry, Bungie has the illusion that Destiny was too big, but it was nowhere near the biggest game on my hard drive. I have Master Chief Collection, GTA, Cold War, Modern Warfare, all of those are taking up much more space than Destiny was. Destiny easily could have gone on adding more content without having to delete stuff, and even if they did delete stuff, they did not need to delete that much content. I'm sorry, I did not need Destiny to go from a 100GB game down to a 70GB game. That just wasn't necessary. Bungie should have vaulted way less content than they did. But if I had to choose one of these 4 things to fix Beyond Light, it would simply be adding new loot. Like, that is the biggest thing that will hurt Beyond Light going forward, as without a good loot pool to grind, the game will fail. People will lose interest, people will stop having things to work for. It will hurt the game in the long run having this small of a loot pool, and if this is the standard we can expect from fall expansions, fewer and fewer people are going to buy them going forward, so this should be Bungie's #1 priority to fix going forward, followed by my solution that I said earlier about building in new kind of core activities into the new like world space that they add every expansion. So, in conclusion, Bungie scammed each and every one of you who bought Beyond Light. You basically got the same amount of content as Warmind for twice the price and lost 2/3 of the game at the same time. But that's all I really have to say. So if you like this video and want to hear more like it, please like and subscribe. And if you completely disagreed with me, which I imagine a decent amount of you did, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below, as I actually really like listening to other people's opinion and just trying to learn what you guys think and trying to persuade you one way or the other. So anyways, until next time, goodbye.